Welcome back. Let's start off from the stables of the MPP. And of course, we are live on X Spaces, on YouTube, and of course, on Facebook. Now, the MPP this morning petitioned the Ghana Police Service over alleged threats and violence act involving senior NDC officials. The party says the party director of communication, Richard Ayangba, said the minority leader, Alexander Fejamaki, national organizer Henry Nanabuachi, and Frank Anadompe, who is the minority chief, were threatened with death by the NDC's first national vice chairman, Chief Sofa Azorka, and Akwatia North Constituency Communications Officer, Alhaji Abdul Wahab Amadou. The petition also accuses Chief Azorka and his associates of physically attacking the MPP's third vice, Alhaji Osman Masawudu. Here are excerpts from a petition filed today. Well, after filing the petition at the police headquarters, the director of communications with the MPP, Richard Ayangba, described the incident as reckless and a threat to Ghana's democratic progress, warning they could fuel insecurity.
The New Patriotic Party issued a statement yesterday in the nature of a petition against the conduct of some NDC personalities in the Akwatia By-Election. This morning we came here to submit that petition formally to the IGP to have the police investigate and possibly arrest and punish the conduct of Alhaji or Chief Sofo Azorka and Abdul Wahab, who is a constituency communication team member or officer for Akwatia North constituency, Akwatia North of the NDC. We are interested in justice. Our coming here is designed to formally petition the IGP. We know the police saw it. The particular abuse of our third vice, Alhaji Osman Masawudu, was in the full glare of your cameras, and the police were there. To some point, they came in to separate, and the person who slapped Masawudu, our third vice, was restrained by the police after he slapped him. But strangely, the police didn't arrest him. A criminal act. The police saw it, they separated, which was good, but there was no action. And that's not how we want to carry on our country. Just as we're talking, if any of myself or my deputies go ahead to slap any of you here, it won't suffice just to separate and so don't slap him the second time, and that's it. So we want the police, as if they haven't seen it, we have brought it to their attention. Evidence on pen drive has been included with the petition. So if they haven't seen what you guys have dutifully circulated in the media, at least we have provided for them so that they can take full account of what happened and take the necessary step to bring sanity by punishing these individuals, not only for the sake of punishing them, but to create a certain standing deterrent for all who would want to copy such behavior, and that our democracy will not tolerate that, and that is not part of how we want to engage ourselves in a democratic process. So that's the reason we came, and we are very happy, even though we didn't have the opportunity to extensively discuss with the IGP, was gracious enough to give us a few moments, and then had promised that we can come in and see him. So we are working on appointment to see him later on if need be, to discuss the petition further. But we want to also plead with you as the media to focus on this petition. The reason is that it is happening to a member of the New Patriotic Party, but it is happening to our democracy. And if these individuals are emboldened because there's no sanction, there's no punishment, they will do it to anybody. and that anybody could be you, could be me, and our democracy suffers. And so we're urging you to focus on this petition. We are going to be focused on it, but we want it to be a collective effort. It is not an MPP's effort to chase or to witch hunt these individuals or to have them punished necessarily, so that our democracy will benefit from it. So we plead with you to join with us in this pursuit so that our democracy.
Well, the Deputy Director of Elections for the NDC, Rashid Tanko Computer, however, says the action of Sofo Azorka was in reaction to Alhaji Basawudu's provocation, insisting there is no wrongdoing for the police to investigate. He spoke on PM Express.
I've said that at the time Vice Chairman Buga was speaking through the mic. You know, somebody was interviewing him.
Yeah.
And he was continually mentioning Azorka name and saying all manner of things about the chairman.
Richard, allow him to make
It's okay, let him talk. You should interject.
Allow him to make his point. I will when I have
Chairman
to.
Azorka came in there and ostensibly changed the language to I will use your sister Gibi's one of wisdom.
Dagbani, yeah?
Dagbani.
Yeah.
And because you don't understand Dagbani.
No, tell us what he said.
And he was telling him.
Richard, allow him to make the point.
They know each other very well. And he was telling him,
No.
the thing that you were saying about me was unfair. He was thinking that Azorka was not around there. Azorka is a nice man, he's a gentleman. And you see, MPP came in as agents of provocateurs in the election. They knew they were going to lose. Their leadership went on removing spree of our posters from.
Meanwhile, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, says although the Akwatia election has been generally peaceful, the heavy police presence was intimidating and also called for a full disclosure of how much was spent on their operation. Vera Abena-Addo is Programs Officer at CDD Ghana.
I think we do not need to deploy this much security for a by-election, 119 constituency. How much is it costing the state? I think now we have to talk about the financial cost to the taxpayer. How much does it cost us for how many days the security was in Akwatia? If you look at the number of days in other jurisdictions, they will tell you how much it costs for an officer to move an officer from his or her station to another station. How much is it costing us? And the question is, was it based on intelligence that something is going to happen in Akwatia? Is that the reason, or it was based on what's happening in Ablekuma? I think we need to look at how to prevent this. In the general election, what is the police going to do? Is it going to be the same in Tamale?
But it worked. I mean, it worked. There was no violence.
And that is worrying. Even though it worked, it's worrying. It's worrying. I know maybe the IGP has to do this also because of what happened, but I think we need some transparency and accountability.
But it's a fair.
Well, let's try and understand what went down in Akwatia and whether the position taken by the MPP is worth it. The party's Director of Communication, Richard Angyagba, joins me. Mr. Angyagba, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Also joining me is the NDC's Deputy General Secretary, Mustafa Gbamde. Mustafa, good to see you. Good afternoon, welcome.
Good to see you too. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me and Richard on the other line.
All right. So first of all, let me ask you, Richard. So did you get a response from the police today when you presented the petition?
Thank you for the opportunity, and good afternoon to my brother Mustafa. I don't want to congratulate him for a victory. Because his victory is questionable as far as we are concerned just now. But I think that he tried his best, except that it's a questionable best. So, yes, the IGP actually, when we got there, was getting ready to head out to another appointment. But then we managed to have a chat with him, wherein he accepted the petition and that we had agreed for a further meeting, but he's fully aware of the petition, and that we indicated to him is in respect of the happenings in Akwatia. And so he directed that it be received on his behalf by his special aide, which he have done. And then we have a possibility of meeting him early next week for any further discussion with respect to it. So he's received the petition, and the content of it you are now aware of. We're just asking for three fundamental things: that the incident be thoroughly investigated, and upon that investigation, action be taken legally to punish the two individuals mentioned in the petition, and the IGP doing so keep the public informed on how he is proceeding with this petition. It is important because what happened there, left alone, would fester, would create or become a standing incentive for others to mimic and replicate and normalize violence as part of our election. You cannot do what Sofa Azorka did, what Abdul Wahab was doing, echoing what Sofa Azorka said earlier, that if indeed he had seen the Honorable Alexander Ponyomakin where he was, there would have been a by-election in his constituency. Going further to say they are looking for three people, the Honorable Ponyomakin included, our national organizer, Nana Boachi, is included, and our minority chief whip also included, the Honorable Anodompre. These are very unacceptable and criminal behavior exhibited, and we think that the police taking action is very, very necessary and is the right thing to do. But what's shocking for me, Elton, is that this thing happened in the full glare of the police. It happened. And they slapped an individual right in front of the police who had not done anything. And even if he had done anything at all, it is not the place of the person who slapped him to do so, because he is not the enforcer of the law. He can report, but they went ahead right in front of police, poked somebody in the face, and then went ahead and slapped him. And all the police could do was separate them and say, everybody go your way. I'm scandalized by that behavior. We saw a similar thing happened in Ablekuma North, and then it was as if the police were weakened or were told not to arrest anybody so far as the person is NDC. And this is carrying on, and I think that is most unfortunate. So this step that we're taking is key in defense of our democracy, in defense of the rights of citizens to be able to go about their activities without any fear or intimidation from another, without just cause. Even if there's just cause, those causes must be pursued through the legal system or through law enforcement to be able to seek redress. So that's the step we have taken, and we're hoping that the IGP will act expeditiously on it so that we can bring some.
Let me bring in Mustafa Gbamdi. He's Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. So, Mustafa, why would your Akwatia North communication officer issue a death threat on the minority leader, the minority chief whip, and the national organizer of the MPP? What did they do to warrant such an outburst?
Well, so good afternoon. First of all, I think that it is important to state that we ourselves are now appreciating what incidents took place, because you know that we had shared ourselves into various communities. After the election, what was important at the time was to collate results and have same declared. We are all now arriving in Accra. The General Secretary this morning was in Accra. The National Chairman is also arriving in Accra. We are yet as a body or as an organization going to review all these issues, particularly that nobody is on the ground, nobody is hurt as we speak. All the other running issues can be looked at collectively and actions taken if there is any. Now, what I do know is that the incidents that occurred, part of it had to do with the Honorable Ponyomakin with my boss, Justin Kodia, entering into the NDC's party office to tear posters. And I think that you are well aware that these are very bad practices politically. It's not done. When an election is in section, the midwife of that election in terms of security and enforcing right is the police. If you have identified that there's something that is wrong or unlawful, it was for you to report to the police for action to be taken. But when you arrogate yourself the right to enforce, then it gives people the opportunity or the leeway to do all manner of things. It's not justifiable that because of that conduct, some of these developments should ensue. I think that it was avoidable. But beyond that, I myself am aware that the MPP, having lost this election, were trying to find something to sit on and to clinch to disturb the public. Look, they organized demonstration because of this. They have started with petitions and all of that. They are scattering demonstrations, petitions across some constituencies. But the very constituency in the Futu, where our brothers there are offended because of what they term as a threat on his life,
right,
which is quite unfortunate. These same individual mobilize people to slap a journalist, to beat a journalist, your own colleague, Elton. Till today, as we speak, where have we gotten to that on that matter? Apenyo Markins is on the record to have slapped a police officer in their recent demonstration. What has happened to that matter? Such that he feels that once something happens and he is not happy about it, the police must act. But when it is about him, then the police must not act because he's a minority leader. That is why he's hiding in the shadows of national executives who themselves have been in Accra and they are busy doing the Accra politics. They've never been to the ground. They were never in the ground. If they were on the ground, I'm sure that would have midwifed some of these issues properly. So for me, it's too early for us to condemn statements. We ourselves as a party are doing investigation to understand what exactly took place, so that when we have appraised the issues and come to terms with what really occurred, then we can comment about it.
So are you saying that you are not privy to the videos in circulation, the one from your communication officer and so forth, Azorka?
I have seen videos, but even that, the law, natural justice, it is just fair that the other party is heard. You have not either heard from Apenyo Markin himself or his legal representation. You are hearing from a political party communicator and their director of communication. We are saying that as a party, we are also investigating the matter. We are going to, ask our vice chairman what really transpired. We will analyze it together with the pieces of videos that we have seen. Then when you put the bit and pieces together, you can then take an informed position on the matter. And so I would urge my brothers in the MPP not to allow us to jump the gun. We should just allow the processes to move on as two political parties. And because these things doesn't involve grassroots people, but senior members of the two political parties, we should handle it carefully so that it can inure to the new path that we are all charting to ensure that we don't experience political violence whenever we have by-elections and any other election.
All right.
I would have thought that because it involved a national vice chairman of the NDC, a national vice chairman of the MPP, and a minority leader at that level, we should be able to engage our inter-party directorates to see what really took place, what happened, so that we can guide the process going into the future. But if that is the route they decide to take, then it enjoins that we now accumulate all the issues that are pending for the police to deal with it once and for all.
Let me just ask,
that the MPP want us to go
Mustafa, let me just ask Richard whether the party may be willing to withdraw this matter from the police and then the two parties engage at the very top. Because, Richard, some are suggesting that this can be a mere political rhetoric that may not contain any threat beyond the spoken word. You think that there is more to it than just is what is on the video. And I'm willing to take the NDC's overture that let us discuss this at our level instead of taking it to the police doorsteps.
Well, Elton, I think investigation, in my view, is one of the overflogged nouns in Ghana. Every small thing we're investigating. When people have evidence before them, they are still investigating. You wonder what they're investigating. My brother Mustafa, who is a very serious individual, has seen these videos. He has the capacity to come to a conclusion on that, and he's appeared to have given indication to that what happened is avoidable, and if it's avoidable, it means it's not acceptable. And so why they would have to sit and investigate it, I don't understand. On the face of it, this is a criminal behavior. So maybe investigation is something different in their dictionary. But as far as I understand, the crime has been committed. Now, I think that I agree with Mustafa to the extent that inter-party avenue may be opened for dealing with this, looking at the personalities that this involves. That's good in trying to build consensus and ensure that as stakeholders in a furtherance of democracy in Ghana, we are talking. That dialogue is critical. But then the criminal aspect of it, we cannot resolve that. It's something that the law will have to take its course on that. So I'm sure that while that avenue for inter-party engagement to avert these happenings in the future, we must also be clear in our minds that seeing an illegality or a crime committed and turning a blind eye will only serve to worsen the situation, and a worst case would happen in the future. So the criminal aspect, I think that would proceed, and we're urging the IGP to do so expeditiously. But by all means, engaging as political parties to seek peace, to ensure that we are civil and engage ourselves as brothers, as Masaudu was seeking to tell Azorka the last time that we are brothers. I think that is a necessary thing that we can do. And I think that Mustafa, the Deputy General Secretary of his party, if they are minded to open that avenue, will engage. It will help de-escalate the tensions we have in our elections and ensure that we are more focused on the national interest as opposed to the parochial interest that drives some of these tensions.
And then my final question, so that I can let you go. I mean, yesterday we were told by your director of elections that you are compiling what you describe as infractions, and that will inform your decision going forward as whether to challenge the outcome of this election in court. How far are you on that?
I'll have to get more details on that. But then, yes, that is some work that is ongoing. The key thing, as far as I'm concerned, is that we're clear in our minds what was done in the case of Azorka and Abdul Wahab. That is clear enough and it's manifest. And so that part of it is being dealt with. They are looking at the other elements. If there's cause for us to proceed in any particular way, I think that will advise us in time.
Richard Anyagba is Director of Communication with the MPP. Thank you so much. Mustafa, you have a final word on this matter.
I just think that we and Elton, we need to, on this occasion, extend, some sort of appreciation and compliment to the Ghana Police Service team, having done a very good job, upheld the highest standard of professionalism. And of course, we need to congratulate and commend the party foot soldiers of both the NDC and the MPP. Because in this by-election, we have not recorded a single incident that involved the party foot soldiers and supporters we have.
Right.
Which means that the call by the public for us as political parties to eschew violent tendencies in elections is something that our party supporters are beginning to uphold. And so that is why I would continue to urge the MPP that these are two unfortunate issues that have occurred And I think that as leaders of two political parties, we should use the opportunity to sit on a round table to iron out so that if that is what may repeat itself in the future, it doesn't have to happen again, so that we can learn out of it and move on.
Mustafa, thank you so much. And once again, congrats on the party's victory at Akwatia. Mustafa Gabande is a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC and also Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. Now, away from the MPP and the NDC and the matters relating to Akwatia parliamentary by-election, President Mahama says Ghana cannot continue spending over $15 million annually, yearly if you like, on renting property abroad for diplomatic use, insisting the reset agenda demands an immediate reversal. Speaking at the commissioning of new ambassadors and high commissioners, he announced that Cabinet has approved a plan to shift from renting to developing state-owned property. This, he explained, would ensure Ghana's missions abroad operate from buildings owned by the Republic, cutting wasteful expenditure.
It was a joyous occasion here as family members gathered for the commissioning of 18 new envoys made up of high commissioners and ambassadors. President John Mahama, in his speech, stated that Cabinet has approved a plan that will ensure a move and a shift from Ghana renting diplomatic properties abroad to owning the properties. He says over the years, $15 million is spent annually on these diplomatic properties.
Let me be emphatic. Ghana cannot continue spending a staggering more than $15 million every year on renting properties abroad for our diplomatic use. This is not a judicious use of taxpayers' resources, and the reset agenda requires an immediate reversal of this trend. And that is why Cabinet has promptly approved the STRIDE initiative. And STRIDE refers to the strategic transition from rental to developing our own properties. I've tasked the Ministers for Foreign Affairs and Finance to work urgently to resolve this long-standing challenge. From my latest briefing, a transaction advisor has been appointed, standard designs are being developed, and funding mechanisms are already being negotiated. This decisive shift will ensure that our missions abroad are housed in properties that are owned by the Republic, reducing wasteful expenditure while safeguarding Ghana's dignity on the international stage. Integrity must be your watchword. The Public Financial Management Act and all relevant regulations must guide your stewardship of public resources that are put in your care. I urge you to guard the public purse with diligence and ensure that efficiency, service, and ethical governance, the very values we're entrenching at home, shine through in every mission abroad.
I have also been speaking to Ghana's High Commissioner to the UK, Zita Benson, on what she makes of the government's decision to move away and shift from renting properties to owning them. She says it is a laudable initiative.
It's a very good initiative, and I'll tell you why. When I was ambassador, when I took office in Czech Republic, Prague, we were renting our residence. We were paying 9,000 euros a month. And for our chancery, we were paying 8,000 euros a month. So what happened was that at the end of we pay our rent every quarter. So we were not able to pay ourselves because we were using our salaries to pay rent. So what happened was that I took a decision that I would move to a cheaper place. So I moved from my 9,000 euro a month place to a 2,500 euro a month place, and then I moved the chancery also to a 4,000 euro a month place. So, but if we own our own, if we have our own place, if we have our own chancery, we own our own residences, then all the money that we spend on rent can be used for something else. Because every month we spend so much on rent, and abroad we pay every quarter. So every quarter, if you are not able to pay, they'll throw you out. So what happens is that sometimes we use our salaries to cover up. So it's a very good initiative that the president is doing.
Ghana's ambassador to the US, Victor Smith, says this will save the country a lot of money.
This makes sense. I mean, for so many years, We've been renting properties in so many of our embassies, missions abroad, and paying good money out and not still owning the properties. So if this is an agenda of his and is a vision of his, why not? We will try and find ways of funding these things and then building just modest facilities so we can continue to have this sort of bilateral relations with our other host countries instead of them always renting and paying money out. I think it's a good idea. It's a brilliant idea, but we need to make it work.
Remember, we've got that exclusive with the Ashanti Regional Minister coming up pretty shortly here on the poll. Stay tuned because a lot of things that he spoke about, illegal mining, why he was selected as Regional Minister at that very age, and of course, what he's doing to win the Ashanti region for the NDC, how that's going to be possible. We'll hear from him pretty soon. But the Greater Accra Regional Chair of the Association of Ghana Industries, Tonam Akpedo, has called for business leaders and industries to be appointed as Ghana ambassadors and high commissioners. His remarks follows President Mohammed's announcement of new performance benchmark for envoys linking diplomacy to measurable outcomes under the reset agenda. Speaking on the sidelines of the Made in Africa Diplomacy and Business Dialogue in Accra, Mr. Akpedo argues that deliberately appointing business leaders is the best way to advance Ghana's interests as they can leverage their vast industry experience to deliver results. There's more in this report.
The Maiden African Diplomacy and Business Dialogue, organized by SALT University College under the theme Harnessing African Diplomacy for the Success of the African Continental Free Trade Area, brought together top diplomat and business leaders to explore diplomacy as a tool to accelerate AFTA's goals. A panel discussion also examined strategies to fast-track its achievement. Speaking to the media, President of SALT University College, Ambassador Dr. Kojo Alabo, blamed the lack of political will among member states for the failure to achieve the full potentials of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
The lack of political will, people not doing enough in order to undertake the measures that are necessary for us to move to the next level, to move to the next point. You see, the diplomat, should be engaged in standardization of the various tariff regimes that we have. It is part of our business, negotiating for compromises here and there, and to bring together the diversities that we have so that there will be a common platform. Because what is the use that we have? We are all drumming home the fact that AFTA is the biggest trading bloc in the world. It will unite 1.4 billion people. It has the potential to produce wealth of about 3.4 trillion. What is the use when we are not moving to the next step?
Keynote speaker Professor Olusola Oyewole said realizing AFTA's poverty alleviation goals requires African universities to decolonize their curricula to meet modern demands.
We need to change the curricula because the requirements that are of our young people today is different from the requirements of the colonial times. The skills and competencies required by young people to survive and contribute to development today is quite different. And that's why our universities, we need to change the curricula. We need to decolonize our curricula so that we have quality young people that will contribute to our development.
For Ghana to leverage diplomacy for growth, Greater Accra chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Tonam Akpedo, insisted business promotion must be central, with ambassadors drawn from industry leadership.
Our view is that in modern times, diplomacy must be used to promote business, promote entrepreneurship, and promote industry. That is the only way we can ensure that we derive the needed dividends that will allow our countries to grow. We further believe that in even deciding who become a diplomat or who represent the country internationally, we select individuals whose accomplishment includes the fact that they have
been in business, or individuals who have demonstrated capabilities in industry and entrepreneurship and having understanding of how business is run or how things are done in the business place. That way, they have the needed background and understanding of what is it that they want to negotiate for the country. So we are calling that it is still a good time, because our understanding is that diplomats are still being appointed, and so we are happy to see that a lot of all of these appointments go to support the cause that the individuals might necessarily have backgrounds that speaks to industry, entrepreneurship, creativity, innovation, and people who understand how things work in real world.
The African Diplomacy and Business Dialogue, spearheaded by Salt University College, is expected to become an annual platform for rethinking economic diplomacy to accelerate the continent transformation. Carlos Caloni, Joy News, Accra.
Now, let's talk about communication, because something is moving within the telecommunication space. The Sector Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samuel Neti George, has announced that AT, that's Airtel Tigo, will merge with Telecel Ghana, formerly Vodafone. The decision follows Airtel Tigo's worsening financial crisis, with the operator recording a $10 million deficit just the first 8 months of 2025. Government says that merger is necessary to stop draining taxpayers' funds and redirect resources to critical infrastructure such as roads, water, and schools. Sam George assured that all 300 permanent Airtel Tigo employees will keep their jobs, pledge a seamless transition for subscribers, and dismiss fears about the company's future. He made the announcement whilst addressing staff at AT's headquarters in Accra. Joy News' lead data and research analyst, Isaac Kofi Ajeminta, has been providing further issues on this matter.
Tracking its financial position, trying to look at its profit and loss position since 2020. And as you can see, all of this year's Airtel Tigo has recorded losses. And the losses is averaging around 500 million Ghana cedis every year. 2024, in terms of the managerial report we are getting, Airtel Tigo's loss actually reached 785 million Ghana cedis. If you add all of this, it simply means that Airtel Tigo in this period under review has made losses to the tune of 2.7 billion Ghana cedis. And that is a big headache for the government, because you need to find ways and means to still keep this company afloat, because government has 100% shares currently in Airtel Tigo. And the reason why we are merging, or the government has decided to merge with, Telecel. But not just the losses. If you look at Airtel Tigo's debt position, how much they owe, currently their debt and liabilities around 3.6 billion Ghana cedis, and that is what we know so far. And that is a big 2024. That's a big headache also for government and Airtel Tigo as well. But in terms of their equity, you will expect that, well, you may be making losses, but at least keep a positive equity. But Airtel Tigo is keeping a negative equity of 2.8 billion Ghana cedis. It simply means that if you sell all the assets of Airtel Tigo, it will not be enough to pay their current debt and then liabilities. If you can go to the next slide, that will show you the market share. So we are looking at government merging Airtel Tigo and Telecel.
Yeah, and you've been explaining that equity would mean that if they sell all of their current assets, it will not be able to offset how much they owe.
Their debt and liabilities, and that gives them that negative equity that they have currently. But this is the market share currently, according to the data we are getting from the NCA. This is the most recent data in the first quarter. MTN is holding 73.86% of subscribers. Airtel Tigo or Telecel 18.26, and Airtel Tigo is around 7.89. So you can see that just looking at this pie chart, Airtel Tigo isn't really the big player here. MTN is still the big guy in terms of the telecom industry. After the merger, what is going to happen? If you go to the next slide, you see after the merger, Airtel Tigo, we don't know the name that they will call it when they decide to merge Airtel Tigo and Telecel, but they combine. For the first time, we'll have a second player that will hold 26.1% of the market share.
Well, a member of Parliament's Information and Communications Committee, Davis Opoku, has also been sharing his views on the way forward on the possible merger between Airtel Tigo and Telecel Ghana.
For me, or for us on the minority side, we really do not see much of a difference. I think what is happening is that you have a company that is financially struggling. I mean, if a company is able to record over $10 million in just 8 months, I think this is a burden that cannot be shouldered by the taxpayer. And so if there's going to be a measure where a company would absorb these liabilities and for want of word, carry over 300 permanent employees of 80 so that they do not lose jobs, I think it's a fair deal. I mean, to say it bluntly, 80 is a dead company. I mean, it's a dead company that nothing can be done about it. So I'm happy that Telecel is now absorbing. But the most important thing for us as a people is that we cannot have a population of over 32 million with just 2 telcos, I mean, operating in this country. I mean, we ought to create an enabling environment to allow investors to come in. I mean, we were at a point where people were interested in coming to invest in Ghana. And I think that for me, should be the focus of government.
Is that not the situation already? Is that not the situation that we do not have just 2 telecom companies, but still there are challenges, and that's why they want to merge it to now make it 2. It will be Airtel Tigo and Telecel 1, and then MTN as well 1.
So my concern is that having 2 companies managing 32 million does not create, I mean, it's more like creating a monopolized environment. There's a need to bring in more of these telcos to come and create more opportunities for Ghanaians. I mean, we want to get out there. And so we think that the state ought to do a lot more. I mean, by creating a level playing field where this dominance by one operator is taking off.
So that's the member of the Communications Committee in Parliament, Davis Opoku, speaking there to my colleague, Akwatia By-Election, early on today. And of course, this is a matter that is developing. How this merger is going to pan out, the name that will be given to what, of course, those details will come up pretty soon. And we're going to take a short break here on a pause. When we return, my guest is the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohenem, and we'll talk about a lot of things. You don't want to miss that interview coming your way after this short break here on the pause.